On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's an Olympic Gold Medalist and a legendary WWE and TNA Hall of Fame wrestler with numerous titles and accolades in both organizations. No big deal. He persevered, winning gold despite numerous injuries, including a broken freaking neck, becoming a national sensation, and rightfully so. His path was filled with personal difficulties, obstacles, and hurdles that he had to overcome every step of the way, all of which have helped shape him into exactly who he's known as today, a man of unstoppable force. He's also an actor, appearing in one of my personal favorite films, Warrior, which in my opinion, he stole the show, and his ability to capture the hearts of fans is second to none. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific father and husband. Please welcome the talented, accomplished, and tough as nails, the determined and abundant Kurt Angle. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we were having so much fun before we record. We're like, we should probably save this juicy stuff for the show. For our listeners now, we're about 6 million now. They're very loyal, engaging. In case you guys aren't familiar with Kurt, which I imagine you are, my best suggestion is do a deep dive, play catch up, check out all the awesome stuff that he has going on right now. What I think is most valuable today is we just have an unbelievable conversation. Before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me, Kurt?
Yes, I am.
What is your superpower?
My superpower,
Mhm.
my family, my kids, my wife. They're the ones that motivate me the most right now.
Yeah, love that. And they've been your rock and your foundation of support, right?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yeah, I could relate to that. I love it. I have one more fun one with you, and then we'll dive in. When you personally wake up every day, and I love to ask the greats because everyone's is different. For you personally, brother, what are some non-negotiables for you every day?
Oh gosh, I have to make sure that I work out. I have to get my workout in. I have to make sure that I get my reading session in. Try to keep my brain smart or sharp, I should say. Other than that, I'm semi-retired, so I do what I can for my wife and my kids, and I have become basically an Uber driver all day long. For my
Understood. When you say semi-retired, what do you mean, Kurt?
Well, I still do some movies, and I do a podcast, the Kurt Angle Show. I also have a contract with the WWE still. I do like interviews for documentaries. If they do a documentary on Undertaker, I'll do an interview for it. I think I'm doing one that's coming up. I believe it's for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Awesome.
So we're going to be doing that next week.
And you just had a documentary come out too on Peacock, correct?
Yes, I did. My documentary came out finally. The first documentary, what happened was we made a documentary, and the director did an incredible job. His name was Alex Perry. And we sold it to the WWE. They took it, and they took a lot of Olympic stuff out and stuff when I was growing up, and threw a lot of WWE heavy stuff.
Right.
And it became like a WWE documentary. And it was good. It was really good. But when they sold it to Peacock, they let it go back to the original. So now the fans get to see the original, the one that I wanted everybody to see. And it's doing pretty well too. I'm really happy with the progress we've been able to get, and we're getting a lot of feedback from fans that absolutely loved it. It's a bit of a tearjerker, but it's a really good documentary.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm gonna watch it this weekend. I can't wait. I love your work, and I didn't know exactly the story, but I'm so happy that it does showcase and illustrate a lot of the before WWE stuff, like your journey, you're coming up at the Olympic stuff. I imagine that stuff is probably not as much documented.
No, and that's what I wanted. I wanted people to see my life before the WWE. And we were able to do that. And I would say probably 65-70% of the documentary is before the WWE, and then the rest is WWE, TNA, and afterward.
Yeah, I love that. And just going backwards for a second, just to get a little deep, I was reading somewhere too, and I was checking out a lot of your content and the stuff that you have going on. I cannot stress the audience enough. Do deep dive, play catch up. And you were talking about how when you were growing up and you were younger and your dad passed, and at that moment you vowed to become a champion no matter what it took, and you kind of utilized that life moment and turned it into fuel and inspiration. Is that right?
Yes. I was able to You know, when I was younger, before my dad passed away, my brothers were all great athletes. My sister was too. I wasn't very good, and I actually cried a lot. I lost a lot, and I cried a lot. And I
Really?
was a bit of a crybaby. And my family they all doubted if I ever be good at athletics. But the light bulb went off in my head my freshman year in high school, and that's when my father died. Losing him at that age was really tough.
How
And
old were you?
I was a freshman, 15 years old. So I decided to dedicate my athletic career to my father. And when I did that, I started getting more focused and more determined. And I started setting goals for myself. And by my senior year, I won a state championship in wrestling. And that's something my brothers and sister never did. And from there, I just knew that I was going to get better and better. I went to college. I won 2 NCAA championships in Division One, and then I went on and won the World Championships in the Olympics. And I dedicated all that to my father. He's the one that gave me the inner strength to do it.
I love this so much. And thank you for your vulnerability and pulling back the curtain a little bit. And it's interesting because I coach a lot of high performers now, like athletes and celebrities and so forth. And I feel like I can help people with mindset and teach almost anything. But the one thing that I don't think you can teach is that hunger, that ambition. And you had that. It seems like that was a pivotal moment. But I'm just curious, straight off the cuff, what do you think? Do you think that's something you could teach, or you have to have that fire in you?
That's tough. I mean, I will tell you this, I didn't have it in me when I was younger. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't mature enough to understand that. Not until I got in my freshman year in high school. But I don't know if that can be taught. That's a tough question. I believe it can, because I believe anything is possible. But usually you should have it inside of you, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. You transitioned so well to WWE when after the Olympics and so forth. And some people might say, well, that's easy because you're so athletic. But I don't just mean like in the ring. I mean like on the mic and just the whole thing. I don't think anybody's ever done it better. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. How were you able to transition so what looked to be so smoothly?
I have no idea. Because the WWE at the time, I trained for about 7 months before I went on WWE television. And they weren't teaching me promos or character enhancement. They just taught me how to wrestle, or at least the techniques in pro wrestling. And I used a lot of my amateur wrestling moves when I wrestled. But I didn't learn any of that. And I remember the first night I went on air, Vince McMahon wanted me to cut a promo, and he starts telling me what he wants me to say. And I'm listening for a second, and then I'm like, holy crap, he's talking so long. There's no way I'm going to memorize this. And by the time he got done, 5 minutes later, I said, Vince, I'm sorry, but I didn't hear a word you said. Could you repeat that? So he was like, listen, I'm going to tell you one more time, and you go out there, you either sink or you swim. And he gave me the opportunity. And I went out there and I got about 80% of it right. And he said, you know what? I think I have somebody special here. I think we can mold this guy into a great entertainer. And he eventually did. And so the more I did, I learned on the job. I wish I would have trained at NXT and learned the character development and the promo skills and all the wrestling skills, but they didn't have that back then.
Yeah.
So they threw me in the water and told me to sink or swim, and it was up to me.
Yeah, but isn't that how we like it? Like burn the ships, like make it work, and that kind of like no plan B, right? You just have to make it work. And
yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you were very charismatic. And that's another one. Like, can you teach that? You just had a way to really connect with the audience. And I'm curious, did you have more fun personally as a face or as a heel? And for the audience that might not be familiar, like as a good guy or a bad guy?
Oh, definitely a bad guy. It's easier because it's hard to get the fans to like you, especially when you're starting out. And being a bad guy, insulting the fans and insulting the other wrestlers, it's just so much easier. And you can be a person that you're not. You can pretend to be this complete a-hole and just crap on everybody and tell everybody their city sucks and the wrestler that you're wrestling sucks. And it's just a lot easier than having the fans accept you as a good guy. And that's hard work. And once you get that acceptance, you got it forever. I mean, whether you turn face or heel, you could go back and forth. The fans are still going to love you deep down, but you have to earn their respect eventually.
Yeah, beautifully said. And the worst thing that can happen with the fans is they don't care. But boos are almost just as good as cheers, right? As long as they have an emotion.
Yes, if they're booing you or you're cheering you, you're doing the right thing. If they're not saying anything, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, beautifully said. Carl, I wanted to ask you real quick. When you won the gold medal, I know you often talk about with the broken freaking neck and so forth, but I don't actually know exactly what happened. What happened that you broke your neck?
Okay, I was at the Olympic trials, the first round of the Olympic trials, the U.S. Open. It was about 3 months before the Olympics, and I was in the semifinals having a stellar tournament, and I got thrown on my head and I broke my neck and I didn't know it. So I kept wrestling in the semifinals. My neck was killing me. My arms went completely numb, and I barely won the semis. And I ended up going on to the finals that later on that day, and I wrestled in the finals in the same condition. And with my neck in pain, my arms numb, I barely won the finals. It was a really ugly match. I did whatever I had to do to win. And so I won the first round of the Olympic trials with my neck broken. And I went home the next day and I went to the doctor and he took an MRI of my neck and he said, listen, you have 4 broken vertebrae and you have 2 discs sticking directly in your spinal cord. You're done. You can't wrestle anymore. And I mean, I was devastated. But, you know, me being a stubborn person I am and a person that will never give up, I went to another doctor to get a second opinion. And this doctor said basically the same thing. But he also said, when is the next round of the Olympic trials? I said, the final round is in 6 weeks. He said, you know what? I might be able to get you ready by then. I said, what's your plan, doc? He said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to, you're not going to be able to train much up until then. You're going to have to let your neck rest and heal. But it won't be completely healed by the trials, but it'll be healed enough that you can still go. But what I'm going to do is have a doctor travel with you to the Olympic trials. And this doctor's going to stick you with 12 different shots of Novocaine all throughout your neck. Therefore, you won't feel the pain. You'll forget your neck is broken and you'll wrestle more freely. But he said, I'm warning you, an hour after those matches are over, you're going to be in excruciating pain from the abuse your neck takes during those matches. And he said, are you okay with that? And I said, yes. And you know what? It worked. It worked. I won the Olympic trials with my neck broken. And I did it because of Novocaine. It's incredible. And we repeated the same thing at the Olympics.
This is crazy.
Yeah, you know what? The thing is, you can't do that today. Okay, there's too many liabilities, lawsuits. You know, a doctor's not going to stick with 12 shots of Novocaine like you're a racehorse to go out there and compete. You know, back then you had a little more freedom to do that. These days, it's just impossible.
But Kurt, I understand you can take pain better than anybody, but was there a risk to make it worse?
Yes. The doctor told me if I land on it, I could go paralyzed. He said you could even get killed. He said, you know, your neck's very vulnerable right now. You have 4 broken vertebrae, and these discs, they were sticking directly in my spinal cord, and that's a problem. Basically, I had surgery eventually to have those cut out so they wouldn't touch my spinal cord anymore. Because when you get anything damaging your spinal cord, that's when serious things can happen.
Yeah. Kurt, if you can go back in time, would you do it again?
Knowing the outcome, yes. But no, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. At the U.S. Open, okay, let me explain to you. You have to win the U.S. Open to be in the finals of the Olympic trials. If you take 2nd through 8th, you have to go to the next trials in a mini tournament, and the winner of that wrestles the winner of the U.S. Open in the finals of the Olympic trials. Now, I was in the finals, and my neck was broken, and it was killing me, and I looked at my brothers, and I said, listen, I can't wrestle. I'm going to have to take 2nd at the U.S. Open and go ahead and wrestle in the mini tournament and wrestle the U.S. Open champion at the Olympic trials. And they said, Kurt, if you do all that, you're going to have to wrestle like 5 times. How do you know your neck's going to hold up? I mean, if you wrestle now and you win the U.S. Open, you'll be in the final spot at the Olympic trials. So they talked me into doing it. I wasn't going to wrestle. I was going to give up and take 2nd and go to the mini tournament and wrestle my way back to the Olympic trials finals. But they told me to do it, and I did it, and I won. So I got to be able to, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I don't know if my neck could have taken all that abuse of 5 or 6 matches in the Olympic trials, the final trials. But I only had to wrestle twice, and that was a lot better. I wrestled 2 out of 3 matches against the champion of the mini trials, and I won both of them. I won 2 straight in a row. I didn't have to go a third.
This is awesome. I'm a big fan. I've been watching wrestling my whole life. I didn't know this part of the story in great detail. I'm wondering, do you talk about this a little bit in the Peacock documentary?
Yes, yes, I did. I talked about it a lot. Yeah, people will get to hear, in more detail of what was going on.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. And Carl, what's the deal with the podcast that you have?
Well, the ego I have, the Kurt Angle character ego, I talk about myself all the time. I talk about my career against Stone Cold Steve Austin, against The Rock, Undertaker, John Cena. I also have guests on. I had Rulon Gardner on last week. He was an Olympic gold medalist back in 2000. He's the guy that beat the unbeatable wrestler from Russia, Alexander Karelin. And Rulon was I wrestled with him in college, and so I had him on the show. Before that, I believe it was the director of my documentary. I had Alex Perry on. Yeah. So we have guests on here and there. They're usually actors, athletes, or pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we just talk about my career.
Yeah. What about the unbeatable Russian UFC fighter from the movie Warrior, also known as you?
Koba.
That was awesome.
It's crazy. I did that movie, and I had to learn Russian for 6 months. I mean, I took these Russian dialect lessons, and they filmed me doing the interviews and stuff. And the director, Gavin O'Connor, who's incredible. I love the guy. He's absolutely the best director I've ever worked with.
Wow.
He didn't like me talking. He felt that my character should be quiet and better, less is better.
Yeah.
And so he decided to take those speaking parts out. And I agree with him. I think it did work out better. It made me a little more mysterious.
Yeah, I love that. And I had I'm sure you know him, Frank Grillo, on the show a little while back.
Yeah, Frank was in it. Yes.
He's awesome. That was like he's
a good friend of mine. Yeah.
I love that. Great guy. That was like his big break into Hollywood. And he also said that's his great friend and the best director he's ever worked with.
Yeah. He's killing it in Hollywood right now.
Crushing it.
Frank is crushing it. Yes, he is.
So proud of him. I couldn't believe his age. He looks great.
Yeah, I know. He looks like he's 35 years old.
Looks younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Kurt, I know there was probably some drama involved and so forth, but what is the reason that you left WWE when you did years back?
Okay, what happened was I broke my neck again in WWE. That was in 2003. And I went to a doctor and I was introduced to painkillers. And I started taking the painkillers, taking one every 4 to 6 hours as directed. And after a while, your body builds a tolerance and one doesn't work anymore. Then you have to take two. And then 2 led to 4, 4 led to 8. Before I knew it, in 6 months, I was taking 65 extra strength Vicodin in a day. I mean, enough to kill a horse. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was deep in it. And so the WWE knew about it and they saw my behavior. They started getting, antsy about me. He told me I had to stop taking the painkillers and then they wanted me to go to rehab and I didn't want to stop. I was an addict and I wanted to stay with the pills and keep taking them. I wish I would have never been introduced to them in the first place. But I was even getting them illegally. I mean, I was ordering them from Mexico and everything like that. I mean, I was really focused on how I was going to get my drugs the next time. That's the number one priority in your mind when you're an addict. And so I ended up in 2006. I had a meeting with Vince McMahon, and we met, and he said, "Listen, you either go to rehab or you quit." And I said, "Well." He didn't want to fire me. He wanted me to make the decision. Either go to rehab or you decide to quit the company. And I decided to quit the company. I didn't want to stop taking the painkillers. Wow. So I left the company in 2006 and I signed with another company who treated me extremely well, Impact Wrestling, TNA, and I had a stellar career there.
Yes, you did.
The problem is, not only was I addicted to painkillers, well, what I did is I got my painkiller problem under control. I started taking 2 morphine pills a day to control the pain in my neck. And I started getting anxiety because I was afraid I was going to break my neck. So I started taking Xanax. And then I couldn't calm down at the end of the night. So I started taking muscle relaxers. And then I started drinking alcohol because everybody at TNA drank. So now I'm mixing everything. And before you know it, I got 4 DUIs in 5 years. My life spun out of control. I lost my reputation. Everything I worked for, I was at the lowest point in my life. And I remember calling my wife from jail after my 4th DUI, and she said, I can't do this anymore. You either go to rehab or I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. And I didn't want to lose my wife and my kids. So I went to rehab, and it was the best decision I ever made. I've been clean and sober 12 years now.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for pulling back the curtain on that. Again, I'm a big fan, but I didn't realize behind the scenes stuff. And so WWE was looking after you. They wanted you to get
yeah, they were. You know, the thing is, they were like, hey, you got to quit. You got to stop. You know, every few months, hey, Kurt, we know what's going on. You got to quit. You know, I wish I would have listened to what they said, but they didn't put their foot down like they did the last time. You know, I think if they would have done a little earlier, I probably would have been able to get off of them. Yeah. And I think if they would have gave me the option of rehab earlier, I would have been able to do it, but I can't blame them. I have to blame myself.
Understood. How's your relationship with Vince these days, and what do you think of the overall wrestling landscape right now?
I think the landscape is good. I think Endeavor purchasing them and owning the UFC at the same time. Vince and I are incredibly tight. We didn't speak for a good 10 years, but we made up, and we made amends, and we got our relationship back. Unfortunately, I have not talked to him since he stepped down. He did come back eventually, but I don't know what he's going to do from here on in, because I heard that he lost control of creative. I heard he's not doing it anymore starting this week. So I guess somebody else is taking over for the company in a creative standpoint.
How do you think Triple H is doing over there?
Awesome. He's great. He's great to work with. He's great to work for. I love him too. I love Vince and Triple H. They were great bosses. I loved working for both of them. Vince is a little crazy, you know, but that's what makes him so special. You know, that's what I love about him. He's so unpredictable.
All the great visionaries of our time were a little crazy.
You're absolutely right, because Vince was whacked. I mean, his mind was so warped and bent, but he came up with some incredible ideas and storylines.
And even just think about what just happened. Like when I saw like something recently, he bought WWE maybe, or back then WWF for like $1 million, and they just sold it for I think $9 billion essentially.
Crazy. $9 billion. Yes. Isn't that crazy? I can't believe I heard the company was worth $4 billion, and here they are. They're
so insane what they sold the company for, Vince and WWE. But
$9 billion. I know Vince. I believe he bought it from his dad for $1 million. That was back before the 90s. But the company's grown so much. I mean, they used to be a mom and pop, you know, company. Now they're a corporate company. They're publicly owned. So they're a lot bigger and they have more responsibility now. Back in the Attitude Era, we were able to do some crazy stuff. Now you can't do that anymore. You kind of have to make it child friendly, you know, kid friendly, PG rated. So this is what it's called now, is the PG era. Yeah. And I'm not so sure I want to wrestle in that era, to be honest with you. I really like the Attitude Era.
Same. And I totally get it, because now there's more responsibilities and stuff like that. And sometimes like I'll be on Instagram and I'll see like one of the old school clips come from like the Attitude Era, and I'm like, what? That would never fly today.
Yeah, I know.
But that was the best era. It was like no holds barred.
Yeah, think about it. Their opening card wrestlers were, one was a pimp, one was a porn star. Like, this is the Attitude Era. It was just ridiculous back then.
Yeah. But also the characters were awesome. Like I think of like you.
Everybody was a star too.
Everybody, you, Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, even Edge. Good for him for coming back.
Yeah, Edge and Christian Valvinus, The Godfather. I mean,
oh my goodness, you name it. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, were you a fan of this stuff growing up, or you were just looking how to transition from the Olympics?
I had no idea. Okay, when I wrestled as a kid, my brothers always told me, "Don't watch that fake stuff. You're the real deal. You do your thing. Don't worry about that." So I never watched. Now I knew who Bruno Sammartino was, because he was a legend in Pittsburgh, and I knew who Hulk Hogan was because he was mainstream. Sure. Everybody knew, but I never watched. And in 1996, Vince McMahon offered me a multi-million-dollar deal right after the Olympics.
Right away?
Flew me up to Connecticut. Went to the headquarters. and he offered me the deal, and I brought it back home with me, and I took it to my agent. My agent was also a former amateur wrestler, and he said, "You're not doing this crap. That's the fake stuff." He throws it in the garbage, and I was like, "That was a multi-million-dollar deal." He said, "I'll find you something better." So he ends up getting me a sportscasting job for Fox in Pittsburgh. It was the worst year of my life. I was absolutely horrible. The first night, my teleprompter went out. My scripts went out of order when I walked in the studio, so I couldn't read my scripts, and my teleprompter went out. So I had nothing in front of me, and I had to remember everything that I was supposed to announce on the news, on the sports. And it was just a disaster, and it never got better. So in 1998, I started watching the WWE, and I fell in love with the whole product. I loved Stone Cold Steve Austin. I wanted to be him. I mean, and little did I know I was going to be the opposite of him. Right. But I ended up calling the WWE in 1998, and I said, "Does that contract still stand in 1996?" And they said, "No, but you can come up and try out." And I figured nothing in my life's ever come easily. This won't either. So I went up and worked for it. And I'd say about 7 months of training, I ended up on TV, and there I was, making my second dream come true. And I came in at the most competitive time too. 100%. I mean, I didn't think they were going to utilize me that much, because there were so many stars on TV at that time. Yeah. Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, Edge, Christian, the Dudley Boys, and Taz, and all these characters. Everybody was there, and Goldberg and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. And so I didn't know how good I was going to do, but Vince McMahon utilized me. He put me in there, and he shot me straight up to the main event within a few months, and I stayed there forever. I mean, I was really proud of myself that I was able to rise above everybody else. And did I deserve it? I didn't have the experience, but I think I performed so well that I deserved it. So I think that I impressed Vince McMahon with my skills, that he said, "This is my guy. I'm pushing him to the moon." And that's what he did.
You being very humble. And I think this is a really cool life lesson, because I also started something new and totally reinvented myself. And a lot of people are not happy with what they're doing, and they want to try something different, but they have this imposter syndrome. It's a saturated space, or it's too late, right? But as I always like to say, there's always room for the best. And you stood out. You were determined. You put in the work, and you were good, and you were consistent. You were hardworking, and as a result, you rise to the top. It wasn't like they just picked you; like, you proved yourself.
You're absolutely right. To be honest with you, I really thought they were going to use me for their weekend show called Superstars, and that I would wrestle for that show only. But right when I came in, they utilized me right away. They pushed me to the moon. It was incredible.
Who were some of your favorite opponents?
Oh gosh, there are a lot.
Where do I begin? Right?
I had so much fun wrestling The Rock. I won my first title against The Rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin was my second title. I love working with Undertaker, the best big guy in the business. Loved Benoit. Chris Benoit was my favorite to work with. He was the most technical wrestler that I've ever faced. I also enjoyed Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar. John Cena was a lot of fun to work with. I was very fortunate to work a lot of the top guys, and I'm very blessed to be able to be in the ring with those guys.
Brock is still going, and it looks like
he's an animal. Listen, there's nobody that compares to Brock Lesnar as a thoroughbred athlete. His size, 310, 320 pounds, his quickness, his power, his athleticism is just off the charts. Yeah. I mean, this guy, he decided to go MMA, and he won the UFC title. He went to the NFL. He would have made the team if he would have went to NFL Europe for a year. Mm-hmm. But he didn't want to travel, so he dropped NFL, and he never played a day of football in his life. He tried out for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was the final cut. They were planning on keeping him, and what they wanted him to do is go to NFL Europe for a year, get some experience, and come back. He said, "I ain't doing that. I'll just go to UFC." Like, this kid, no matter what he does, he could play baseball, and he would be a pro in baseball. The guy's just so athletic, it's pathetic.
It looks like he's having fun right now.
He is. You know what? I never seen Brock this relaxed. You know, he was always a little tense and uptight. But Brock is you could tell that he's having a lot of fun.
Yeah. But also, if I compare him to anyone in terms of athleticism, I would say it was you. And you guys had that epic showdown at WrestleMania when he did that shooting star press.
Oh, God, when he missed the shooting star.
Yeah.
I thought he broke his neck, man, because my neck was broken at that point. And I decided to wrestle WrestleMania. That's another thing you can't do these days is have a broken neck in main event WrestleMania. But Brock, when he did the shooting star press, I thought he broke his neck. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm supposed to lose tonight so I can have surgery tomorrow. I'm going to have to cover this son of a gun and pin him, and I'm going to have to go on for another month with the title. And but Brock, he bounced out of it and snapped out of it, and he was able to give me his finish move and move on. So he got a concussion. He sprained his neck. I hurt my neck a little worse than it was, but it wasn't too bad. But we both were able to dodge any kind of paralysis wrestling that night. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. What do you think of the work Roman Reigns is doing right now?
Oh, he's incredible. You know, at first, when he first came into company, he was a little green, and you could tell he's a good athlete. He wasn't real good on the microphone, but Vince loved him. And Vince kept pushing him, and the fans were like, "Why are you pushing this guy?" Right. And so they started to hate Luther or Roman, and so the fans were booing him when he was a babyface. And the best thing they did, first of all, he got experience, and he got better and better and better, and he's the best right now. And he started getting better and better, and then eventually he was able to be more experienced. He was able to perform at the highest level. I mean, this kid has done incredible things, and this winning the world title and carrying it for over 3 years now is unbelievable, especially today, because you have fickle fans. Fans want to see change all the time. They don't want to see somebody hold a title for 3 years, but this has not been boring. Roman Reigns has really made it really special, and I believe he's the best worker in the world right now. And, you know, when he was at the beginning, fans were booing him, but eventually Vince turned him heel, which was the right thing to do. And now the fans hate him, but they actually love him.
Right.
You know, it's like, I'll boo him, but you know what? This guy he's too good. I have to actually love him. 100%. So they're playing their part, but they do love Roman.
Yeah, beautifully said. Last thing, it's probably hard to choose one, but maybe you have one. When you think back of your awesome, legendary wrestling career, the WWE stuff, is there one specific moment that stands out that was the most special for you?
Yeah, the milk truck moment. When I came out of the milk truck and I sprayed down Stone Cold Steve Austin and the alliance with milk.
Stephanie, right? Stephanie.
yeah. Stephanie was in there too. I got a good job of a lot of milk on her too. That was the funnest moment. You know what? Let me tell you a story real quick.
Please.
I afterward I had to catch a red eye. So I couldn't change my clothes. And there's milk all over me. I'm chugging milk. And I'm on the airplane. And about 2 hours into it, it's a red eye. I'm going home. The plane starts stinking like sour milk. And everybody's like, what the hell is that smell? And my shoes are off. And my shoes were soaked too. And they smell like sour milk. It was the longest ride of my life. I was trying to hide. Everybody knew it was me, and they were so pissed off at me. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in this position right now. And it was 6 hours of just like, please just land the plane. I want to get off this plane.
That's so funny. I didn't know that. Your chemistry specifically with Stephanie and also The Rock was priceless.
Yeah, you know what? Rock and I had some great chemistry because I played the gullible idiot, and you know, he was so slick with the promos. It worked out extremely well. And Stephanie and I, we had that little romance, which was kind of cool. She actually told me I kissed like a fish. She told me that backstage. I said, what do you want me to do? I'm kissing you in front of your dad. Do you want me to slip you the tongue? but you know, Triple H was actually really cool about it. I don't know if I'd have my wife involved in a show and have her kiss somebody else, but Triple H was really cool about it. And I think because he trusted me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you surprised though with The Rock's success or the shoe fits?
No, the shoe fits. Everybody knew he was going to be a big movie star. When he was in WWE, it was just a matter of time. And I'll tell you who else is going to be a big movie star is his cousin, Roman Reigns.
You think?
Oh yeah, he's got a great look. He can act. He's there. He's
Yeah.
gonna be there whenever he wants to do it. They're gonna do a multi-film deal with him.
Well, Cena and Batista are crushing it.
They are crushing it. Cena and Batista are doing extremely well. I just got a script today. I'm gonna be doing a movie for Michael Tadros Jr. With Randy Couture and Stallone's brother.
Mike Stallone.
Yes, yes. So that is we're going to be doing that, I think, at the beginning of next year. So I've been getting some movies here and there, and this one I don't consider this a budget movie. If $12 million is not really a budget movie, a budget movie is usually $500,000 or $1 million, not 12 million. But this director claims that this is a budget movie, so you spend a lot of money. There have to be a lot of explosions in this movie.
Yeah, hell yeah. Are you passionate about acting?
I'm sorry?
Are you passionate about acting?
Yeah. I've been taking acting classes, and I enjoy it. My memory isn't so as good as it used to be. Like when I would study promos, it would take me 5 minutes to study 3 pages.
Yeah, really?
Now when I study scripts, it takes me a month to study one scene. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wears on me. I got to continuously go over and over and over and over just to get it embedded in my head. But I don't know if it's because of all the concussions or what, but there's something going on that I'm just not as slick as I used to be.
Yeah, understood. This was so much fun, Kurt. Thank you so much for getting vulnerable and pulling back the curtain. We had some good laughs too. Our audience is so loyal and engaging. What's the best way for all of them to support you? And what are you personally most excited about right now?
I have a product called Smart Snacks. They're crispy protein bites. They're healthy, high protein, low carbohydrate, low fat. You can get them at physicallyfit.com. My business, they're doing extremely well. The flavors are incredible. People absolutely love them. I also have a Kurt Angle cookies and cream protein now with Project One Nutrition. You can get that at projectonenutrition.com. And I guess, my podcast, the Kurt Angle Show. Yeah. If anybody wants to hear about my career or interviews with other world-class athletes, go ahead and look up the Kurt Angle Show, and you might be entertained.
Yeah, and we're going to put all that in the show notes. And also, I want to encourage everybody to check out the documentary on Peacock as well. I know it's going to be great. I can't wait to check it out.
Make sure you check out the documentary. It's my whole life story. It's done really well. I'm very proud of it. It gets a little emotional, but it's a really strong documentary.
Awesome. Yeah. Kurt, hang out for 1 sec. I want to connect to you after. I want you to know the definition of grit, determination, and resilience. I could personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless, juicy nuggets today.
Thank you.
That was awesome, brother. Thank you, Kurt.
Thanks, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd love to stay connected. Do you ever come out here to New York?
Yeah, here and there. You know what? I'll give you my email.